Hello and welcome to this edition of Two Talk. Today we're going to talk about something that, I know when you're driving along the road you see those signs, this mile maintained by, and then there's a little Keep Cobb Beautiful. So joining us today is Jeff Gross, who is the board chair for Keep Cobb Beautiful. And what we want to do this segment is kind of tell you a little bit about the history of Keep Cobb Beautiful and the things that they do, and it's not just about taking care of roads. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Commissioner Ott. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. And so let's talk a little bit about what is the history of Keep Cobb Beautiful. I mean, how did it start, and kind of tell the folks a little bit about that.
Thank you. Keep Cobb Beautiful started over 30 years ago here in Cobb County. And the important thing to focus on is this is actually an affiliation with a national program, Keep America Beautiful.
Yeah, see, I think people don't realize that, you're part of a very large group.
Right. And Keep America Beautiful started in 1958 and really got its momentum through the 60s with government sponsorship by Lady Bird Johnson, and started to formalize its program in the 70s when Earth Day became popular.
I think a lot of folks remember Earth Day. Yes.
Some of us do.
Both of us do. So,
But the public service announcement that was popular the day was one of a crying Native American.
Yes, I remember.
And that was the first public service announcement about recycling in the country. And Keep Cobb Beautiful, over its time, we were one of the first affiliates that joined. Actually, there was another step in between, Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation.
Okay.
So Keep America Beautiful has 600 affiliates. Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation was the first state affiliate.
Okay.
And Keep Cobb Beautiful started 30 plus years ago underneath that umbrella.
Okay.
And we were founded by a number of concerned citizens that were really trying to bring education and awareness, behavioral change around environmental issues for the good of the community, not just for the sake of trees, if you will.
Right. I know everybody's kind of familiar with the Cobb trees and Keep Cobb Beautiful, but so now you are pretty much all volunteers.
We are all volunteers. I'm part of a 21-person board that's assigned by county officials,
right?
Or city officials.
Yeah, a lot of them. It's not just the commissioners. I mean, I know I have appointees on the board, and as do my fellow commissioners, but also the cities, and it's really a collaborative effort.
Yes. So it's best to think of Keep Cobb Beautiful as a public-private partnership.
Okay.
We are a 501c3 entity, so we're a separate nonprofit.
Which allows you to fundraise.
We can fundraise, and we can also do things outside of traditional county-funded activities, of which the county does fund a great number of our programs. So it is a public-private partnership, and we as volunteers, not just the board members that come from all walks of life, that are very interested in the whole mission of Keep Cobb Beautiful, which is sustaining our communities through litter prevention, beautification, recycling, and environmental education.
Right. Now, as a 501c3, besides the county funding and fundraising, you're also eligible to get grants. And I know a lot of your funding comes from grants, right?
It does. As a matter of fact, we were very pleased to receive a grant from Marathon Oil this year. And we have a number of partners, Dow Chemical, Lockheed Martin,
okay.
Waste Management. Over the years, we've been sustained by grants as well as county funding.
Okay. All right. So the most familiar program that you have, Adopt a Mile. Everybody's seen the signs. I kind of talked about it at the opening. This mile maintained by, and then you have the folks that go out and they take care of the different segments of the road. So let's talk a little bit about Adopt a Mile.
Sure. Now, Adopt a Mile is probably the program we're known the best for.
Right.
It's the most visible, if you will, with our brand on it. But yet, you'll see underneath that adopted by on the Adopt a Mile sign, it could be a community homeowners association, it could be a business. In South Cobb right now, the Lions Club is very, very active and have taken on a tremendous amount of miles, if you will,
sure,
in attracting others. And so it's kind of teaching others to do the same. And as we've grown over the years, the amount of miles that we maintain, really through volunteerism, has been tremendous. And once a mile is adopted, there's a service level agreement that whoever does so does maintain it with their volunteers.
Right. It's almost, I know that a lot of the community groups, especially in East Cobb, it's kind of like a badge of honor to be able to, be out there maintaining a mile and being a part of the community and helping. Now, you don't just help with the roads. there's a kind of a unique program that that I kind of learned a little bit more about, and that's working at the school and the school gardens.
Yes, a number of years back, the notion of community greening really became a part of our charter. And this program known as Dig in the Dirt really is a program where we can fund Cobb County schools in building out sustainable gardens. And for many schools, you'll find gardens that are maintained by students.
Which in some of those, that may be the only opportunity the student has to actually see how food is grown.
It could be food, it could be any kind of sustainable plant, but the whole notion, and by the way, I have to throw thanks out to the teachers, the environmental educators of the world that actually bring their students into this kind of program. They're the ones that are teaching them not just about how to plant, but why to plant and what it means over time in the environment. And
well,
that
and
starts
one of the
young.
things, of course, is you can't plant the same crop all the time,
Right.
Because it's going to deplete the soil of the important nutrients and things like that, and so they get to learn a little bit about that because let's face it, I mean, yes, Georgia has a lot of rural areas, but the Metro Atlanta area, and especially Cobb County, does not have as many farms left.
Right.
For the
right.
for the kids to really see how things are have been grown.
And the more suburban we are, the harder that is a point to make.
Sure.
Matter of fact, the Dig in the Dirt applications for schools are coming up here in November. So in November, any school that might be interested in funding
Well, and
for
I
this,
will actually, and folks watching can see on the bottom of the screen where they can go to find out more information about the Dig in the Dirt.
great.
So, all right, so let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. We have multiple containers at our house, and that's recycling.
Uh-huh.
Now, that has actually kind of changed a lot since I think most people, when we started the recycling kick, you had your container for newspaper, you had your container for the glass and the container for the aluminum. Well, now we have this thing called single stream.
Right.
So why don't you tell the folks a little bit about that?
Well, single stream is what most people know of recycling because whoever is collecting garbage offers a service. But at the end of that, the back of it, is a single stream process where that recycling is taken. And it's really combining every kind of recyclable in one stream versus keeping it separate.
Right, and what happens is there's this fancy machine, I've been out there, and it all goes in one end and it starts shaking over here and magnets over there and openings over here, and the stuff just kind of drops out in different places and it's actually all separated out.
Right, it's a very interesting piece of engineering.
So now the county has some locations for folks that if their particular trash hauler doesn't do recycling, that they can take it over on County Services Road.
Right.
And we'll show folks on the screen where that is. But generally speaking, most of the trash haulers, I think, offer recycling. Is that not true?
They do, or they work with a wholesaler on the back end that does this.
Okay. All right, so let's take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about some of the things you do, but mainly trees and Christmas tree recycling. So
Great.
We'll be right back.
Now, come on. Come on. All right. I know, 2 seconds. Hang on, just stand still. Stand still, love. 1 second. I know. Just okay, go, go, go. No. Boys, hang on, boys.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
We are different. Society should aspire to be more like us.
Be part of the first class. Get energized. Get outside.
Hold on, guys. It's gonna get bumpy.
And get moving. Experience the power of physical activity. Join the movement at ActionHeroAlliance.com.
What if a disaster strikes without warning? What if life as you know it has completely turned on its head? What if everything familiar becomes anything but?
Before a disaster turns your family's world upside down, it's up to you to be ready. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed today. Learn how at ready.gov.
Welcome back. Still with me on this month's segment is Jeff Gross, board chair for Keep Cobb Beautiful. So before the break, we talked about the history of Keep Cobb Beautiful and some of their programs, kind of the ones people are most familiar with. So now let's talk about tree plantings. I don't think people realize that how involved Keep Cobb Beautiful is in trying to get trees planted around the community.
Well, once again, I think this is it's a group effort in working hand in hand with the county. We have a program called Cobb Trees. And over the years, we've planted over 5,000 trees, and you'll see these at libraries or schools.
Or the parks. Right.
Mostly public facilities, but some of the trees we planted have also been in private facilities that the nonprofit itself uses its donated funds to foster.
Right, and I know that there are some opportunities sometimes where certain developments or developers will contribute into the tree fund to kind of help, increase the number of trees that you can get out there and plant.
Right, and we do get a lot of requests, and we are very careful that we try to stick with native plantings of a certain size and type that can be sustainable. And once again, for any of these programs that we take on, there's a service level agreement that the property management, wherever we bring these trees, and our volunteers that do plant them, property management has to agree to water and sustain them.
Right, to help take care of it. I mean, so so you all will bring the trees, to the site, go through the effort of planting them and, getting them situated in the soil properly. And then, like you said, there's an agreement with the property owner to maintain them moving forward.
That's right, and we do work with the county arborist to make sure that the kinds of trees we're planting, given the shade, are the proper plantings for that particular site. So
right, and of course we have to consider the typical water conditions and things like that. I mean, obviously this summer has been kind of tough with the drought, but obviously growing things in this environment is a lot different than, say, if you're up in the Northeast.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, let's talk a little bit. This is kind of a recycling and a tree issue, and we got the Christmas trees.
Uh-huh.
So I know folks have seen, sometimes, like I know Home Depot, the local Home Depot stores will pile up the trees. But let's talk a little bit about the Christmas tree recycling. That's another big program that y'all do.
So recycling on its own is a huge commitment of Keep Cobb Beautiful. Matter of fact, from a Keep America Beautiful standpoint, the amount of litter that takes place in the U.S. impacts our citizens by 9.1 billion a year. So recycling really is another extension of that. So
sure, giving folks a place to take stuff and keep it off of the roads and the side of the roads.
Correct. And so Bring One for the Chipper is the Christmas tree recycling program. This is a national program, and here in Cobb County, we partner with Home Depot and others. So again, partnership is very key, and a lot of people know to bring their trees to a site that they've seen before. They don't always know that behind the scenes, that's all driven by Keep Cobb Beautiful and its partners.
Right, yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard, Bring One to the Chipper, and they've seen the big piles at Home Depot, but yeah, you're right. I think you're right. They have no idea that
Right.
Keep Cobb Beautiful is kind of behind it.
Yes, and so we're also at a number of libraries and other public locations, but this has grown to be a very big event.
How many trees on average do you think, or do you know roughly how many trees every year?
Thousands. I don't know the number.
I know it's a bunch. It's always been a really big pile.
Right, and people are very gracious when they come by, and they're always asking for our calendar of events for other recycling activities and tree planting activities, which we hand out.
Well, and one of the ones, and it's only a couple times during the year, is the electronics recycling.
Right. So there's one coming up in November, as a matter of fact.
And we'll put the date on the screen so folks can see it.
Right. So community recycling days happen twice a year, and usually at multiple locations. And this is another big driver for volunteers, and we get a lot of turnout from Lockheed Martin and Kennesaw State volunteers.
Okay.
Lots of scouts come out for this.
Yes, I know. I send some of mine.
Yeah, and it was much appreciated. And what we're doing is electronics recycling. Last session, In the spring, we actually recycled 19,000 pounds of TVs and monitors.
Wow.
And everyone's buying flat screen TVs and they still don't know what to do with the big tubes. Bring them to us.
Okay. Well, I actually have this pile in the corner of my office of all my electronic stuff that I'm ready to bring next electronics recycling. So
We did 13,000 pounds of paper shredding. So on-site paper shredding in big trucks. So it's another place where you can reuse paper and make sure it's safe and secure.
and when you have these community recycling days, there's just about anything. I mean, because if I remember right, and maybe I'm wrong, but you can actually bring paint if it's, you put the cat litter in there and all that and get the cans kind of prepared ahead of time, right?
30,000 pounds of paint in our last recycling. We ask that you don't please bring oil-based paint.
Okay.
It's best that it's latex, but we will take that. And the key to this is making sure it's properly managed as a recyclable.
Right. And now all this information is on your website.
It
correct?
is.
On what can be recycled, what not, and how to recycle it, because there are certain things that you just really can't recycle.
Yeah, it is. KeepCobbBeautiful.org.
Okay, and that's on the bottom of the screen. So let's talk about now the recycling is part of the community cleanups, but there's other components as part of the community cleanup, are there not?
There's a lot of community outreach and cleanups that we also coordinate, and it can be with the school. And let me also mention, a lot of these are independent. They may not be Keep Cobb Beautiful events, but we can mentor and help others run their own events. So as a contributor to the community, I think we can help add value to anyone trying to build these programs.
So, I mean, for example, like say a school wants to have a, kind of a fundraiser. I know there's some schools in East Cobb that go on a trip to Washington every year, and sometimes they'll have a recycling day. So now is that something that they can come to Keep Cobb Beautiful to help kind of organize and work
Absolutely, and it's a great partnership because if they come to us, we'll bring them to the partners we turn to.
Okay.
Which are those professionals that know about recycling or litter prevention on the back end. So making these connections is of great value across our community.
Right, because folks think that everything can be recycled, and I know, for example, the board just this year had to basically allow glass to kind of be removed from the recycling, the single stream, because number one, there's not a huge market for recycled glass, but also it really kind of fouls up the machine.
Right, it's tough with single stream.
Yeah. So, I mean, and so it's good for folks if they have some recycling questions to go to your website and find out exactly what can and cannot be recycled.
So that came up just recently at one of our own board meetings, and one of our affiliates, Keep Smyrna Beautiful, they still do glass recycling. So it's just knowing where to point.
Yeah, well, I mean,
people as
and the county actually, the location that I mentioned earlier, if you go there, because that's actually where I take our glass, you go but you just can't put it in your recycling that you put out with the trash.
Yes, you have to be careful because that could end up in landfill if you do
Right,
that.
yeah, because what happens is if they can't recycle it from the single stream, then it just kind of gets put and taken over to the trash side.
Right.
So, well, I want to thank you for joining us today. And I think that folks now realize that there is a whole lot more to what Keep Cobb Beautiful does. And, they can go to the website that's on the screen and kind of get a feel for all the things you do. And now, is that where they would go to volunteer?
That's where you go to volunteer, and there's a calendar there, so you see a lot of our activities, including one we're doing in conjunction with Water Department, which is Rivers Alive, coming up here in a few weeks.
All right. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And as you can see, there's a lot of opportunities if you want to volunteer and help Keep Cobb Beautiful, make our county look better and nicer, and plant some trees, or if you just want to recycle some of those things that are sitting in the corner, your electronics or some other things like that. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Cobb County Safety Village is the most comprehensive safety training environment in the region. Located in central Cobb County, the Safety Village aims to provide the highest quality of safety education available. Primarily designed for elementary-age school children, the Safety Village provides hands-on life safety training. Education is the key to reducing risk and protecting our community and its residents, and the Cobb County Safety Village is the first in Georgia to offer this kind of learning experience. On the 8-acre site is a large multi-use education building which includes classrooms, a cafeteria, offices for employees, and an auditorium made to look like the historic Strand Theater in Marietta. There is also a station for inspecting car seat installation, a free service provided to the residents of the county by Safe Kids of Cobb County, which includes 3 mechanics bays that provide shelter from the elements as well as heat during the winter months, as opposed to before when seat checks were done outside. After walking through the reception area, visitors are greeted with what looks like a small house. This is known as Sparky's house. In the hallway, which is made to look like a street, there's a replica of a telephone booth and a small tree. Sparky's house actually consists of a living room, bedroom, and kitchen, creating an incredibly memorable learning experience that mimics some life-threatening situations that children may face in their own homes. The front door of the house opens to what looks like a regular home on the inside. In Sparky's living room, children are taught about the 3 elements of fire, shown what objects around the house are more subject to catching on fire, and then the home fills with smoke from machines and steam heats the doorknob at the exit. Children must then maneuver, crawling across the floor to keep away from the smoke, and feel the door with the back of their hands to see if there is fire on the other side. The children then open the door and crawl outside to safety. When they are in Sparky's bedroom and the room fills with smoke, the children must then climb out the window with a safety ladder and meet up at the family's arranged meeting spot, the tree outside of the house. After these lessons, children participate in a simulated 911 call, complete with a live operator answering at the other end. Children are also given classes from police officers regarding topics ranging from what to do if approached by a stranger, what to do when you're home alone and hear a knock at the door, and what to do if they find a gun in the house. Interaction and participation by the children is highly encouraged and also provides for a better learning experience. The Safety Village's goal is exactly this: teach children in a unique and unforgettable way and make it as interactive as possible, but do so in a manner that is controlled, supervised, and above all, safe for the students. The David Hankerson Education Building is only the first part of the children's experience. The Safety Village itself is a working village. The land has been paved like a small neighborhood and designed to look just like that, only on a reduced scale. The Safety Village is a child-sized representation of our county, complete with real trees, scaled-down operative buildings with signage, small street signs and traffic lights, and even model homes. Site elements used throughout the village reference those found around the Marietta Square to help give the scene a recognizable and authentic look. The site features 4 distinct areas, which are the Marietta Square, a commercial district, a residential district, and an industrial district. Since it has opened, the Cobb County Safety Village has improved the fire department's efficiency in training students by 200%. Twice as many students have been able to take part in this safety training than last year before the Safety Village opened. It is easier and requires less manpower to have a centralized location, which helps to reduce scheduling conflicts. Before, when 2nd and 4th graders participated in their state-mandated fire safety program, a fire truck with a trailer housing a far less advanced scenario similar to Sparky's house would have to travel out to each school individually and could only handle one small group of students at a time. The Cobb County Safety Village allowed them to build a more complex scenario, which teaches the children more effectively, and they have room for multiple classes at one time. Children will benefit greatly from the knowledge that they will encounter through observation and participation. Learning is essential to a child's mind, and taking part in the process is crucial. The philosophy is simple: tell me and I will forget, show me and I may remember, involve me and I will understand.
Each year, our children are put at risk by drivers who ignore bus stop arms and warning lights. In Cobb County alone, more than 1,000 drivers ignore them every day. The Cobb Police Department and Cobb Schools have partnered with Operation Stop Arm to educate drivers about the new law to save lives.
Tragically, a young child was killed at a bus stop by a passing car in 2009.
While we were being interviewed by the news crew, a driver ran through the stop arm of the bus.
We had just installed new stop arm cameras on some of our buses and were able to hand the photo over to law enforcement. And now, with the new law, hopefully we will reduce violations of the stop arm law and have additional evidence to cite violators.
Drivers who pass a school bus with a stop arm activated can receive up to a $1,000 fine from the court and get 6 points tacked onto their driver's history. It is a serious offense.
So next time you're in a hurry and you're tempted to pass a stopped school bus,
Hey, my name's Katie and I'm in the 9th grade. I'm an A average student and I'm an athlete working towards a scholarship. And everybody tells me how much potential I have. But I just wish someone would tell me where my next meal is coming from. Katie, how'd I do?
Do you have to be so serious?
Well, I mean, I did like a crazy dance in a movie if you want me to like, do a little, no.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.